Here's an example of Engage from NiceJob. The Engage notification appears. We see a booking from Ken 6 days ago. When we click that notification, it takes us to recent reviews, and there's Ken's 5-star review. In just one click, your website visitor saw Ken's entire customer journey from booking to review. Engage notifications will also display recent reviews. When expanded, we see the platform the review is left on, a profile image available, the amount of stars, and the text of the full review. Instant credibility that'll up your conversion rate. It's Engage from NiceJob. Our guest today is in a beautiful location, and he's got an amazing strategy to get more reviews. And it's not just NiceJob. He puts a little extra seasoning on it, like a good meal, like a good steak. It's great on its own, but if you add a little extra seasoning, it becomes that much more choice. It is Bobby Walker, host of A Journey of a New Entrepreneur podcast, his YouTube channel, also TRT pressure washing and window cleaning in Orlando, Florida, if I'm not mistaken. Bobby, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, I love it, man. Thank you for having me. I love you guys. You're awesome. And as soon as you asked if I wanted to do this, I was like, heck yeah, I want to do this. So I'm glad to be here.
And I can tell you're excited about it because we were talking a bit before we went live here, and you're at an Airbnb right now. You're maxing, you're relaxing, you're enjoying some free time. So we especially thank you for sharing your knowledge when you could have easily been like, hey, I'm off today. I'll catch you tomorrow.
Yeah, no. Again, thank you. It's an honor for me, and I appreciate it.
So I mentioned, I kind of want to get this right off the top here. This is for our NiceJob Heroes user group. Everyone that will get to see the initial live broadcast of this is a NiceJob user, a NiceJob fan. But we will be recording this, for our podcast and perhaps later on YouTube as well. So I don't want to spend too much time talking about NiceJob specific because, hopefully everyone or majority that are watching this are familiar. But I want to take it back to when you first learned about NiceJob or every iteration at that point. When you first heard about what NiceJob could do, the automation in general, what were your first thoughts thinking about NiceJob in that process?
They were real simple. I thought, oh, this will help us get more reviews. I know that's kind of a plain Jane answer for you, but I got NiceJob some months into our business. Let's call it 8. I don't remember exactly how many it was. But we were doing good, not great, on getting reviews. And we wanted to make a big push on, because we understand the value of them because we're consumers ourselves, So when I say we, I'm referring to my son and myself that run the company. So we got NiceJob and we got a script and just put it in place, and we haven't looked back. So we just looked at it and said, I think this will be a great opportunity for us to kind of dominate the online presence in our area.
And you teased the script a little bit. We are absolutely, I know a lot of people are going to tune in just to hear, those specifics. But reviews have always been important to you. And I know you do a lot of, different marketing strategies, but reviews have always been a part of that. Why are reviews so important, for you in particular? Is it just purely social proof, or do you also get a little bit of like the feedback from your customers so you kind of know where to drive the ship with your business?
Well, that does okay. So the second part you were talking about, just like getting feedback from customers, I would say the more valuable feedback tends to be the bad stuff. Fortunately, we haven't got. I've only got about 3 bad reviews, total. So I haven't got a lot of that, but we have a survey that we send out as well, where that'll catch a little bit of that before it turns into a bad review. So I would say for us, the biggest, hands down, no question, my focus on reviews stems from the fact that when people buy stuff, they look at reviews. Now, whether it's Google in general, or if I do most of my shopping on Amazon, what do? I look at a product. The first thing I look at is the reviews. I click on them. I filter by the worst reviews to see what those are. I do the same on Google. And then I look at the worst reviews and see how the company responds to them. And then I make my buying decisions based on that. And frankly, if if there's 2 companies, that I'm looking at buying whatever, if one of them has 100 reviews and the other one has 15, I just get the one that has 100 reviews as long as they've got probably a 4.3 or better. And I'm like, yeah, that's pretty good. So.
Yeah, it's almost, it's further validation, but when you see that amount, I think it also goes a bit to experience. I feel like it's an underrated element of having a lot of reviews. You, for example, last I looked, you're up around the 611 on Google, over 600. At the very least, I know that's 600 opportunities at least that you've gone out and serviced your community. And that has to be huge, people knowing that you're not a fly by night, you've been in this a while.
Yep.
As your review amount kind of grows, have you seen when it comes to those initial bids or consultations or initial customers they almost are bringing that up to you of that's why they chose you?
No, there's no question. So one thing I do want to say, just for transparency, I'm actually approaching 500, not 600. Okay. I don't want to be accused of accepting an extra 100 reviews. But yes, without question, people will bring that up to us, and we're gonna get into the script that we use. But we always mention, at the time of the sale, we always mention, that we want a review from you. And most of the time, the person says, "Oh yeah, we actually called you because of your reviews." So the customer always gives us some sort of response saying, "Oh yeah, that's why you're here in the first place."
And it's amazing. And forgive me for misspeaking, 500, but still an amazing achievement on its own just to kind of get there. And is the gap still wide between the second and third review levels? I know you had a really strong lead at one point.
Unfortunately, like when I started here in Orlando, I think when I got to like 35 reviews, I became the highest reviewed company. Well, now that I'm here and I'm getting all these reviews, there's like another guy that has like 100, and there's like another guy that has like 60 or something like that, last I checked. But still, there's a big gap there. So it's nice when you can make the guy that has 100 reviews look like he doesn't have very many. So that's why we still push really hard on doing this. So yeah, the last time I checked, and this is the stat that we give our customers, it's been a few months since we've actually looked at this, but we'll tell them we have more reviews than the next 16 companies combined. And that's including the guy with 100. So.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's an incredible stat. And that is one that definitely, as someone that works reviews, things like that, it still throws you back when you can throw out a stat like that. Yep. But it also sets a high bar for yourself as well. Now you're coming in, you have the great reputation. And this is what I want to try to get into a little bit of the script that you use, because sometimes people look at companies that have really great glowing reviews and have really big numbers, and they almost want to be a little extra judgy, if they say. They want to set the high bar because you coming in with this pedigree, with this standard. The reason they choose people with the highest reviews is because they want the highest quality work. Let's dive into a little bit of kind of the script you use, but let's talk about when they contact you. You start right away with the customer experience. What is your mindset going into that initial conversation, and where do you try to steer that conversation?
Yeah, so the initial contact, so they've called us and we're now on the phone with them. At step number one, we're not talking about reviews unless, well, actually, there's no unless. We're not talking about it when we're setting our sales appointment. So our workflow goes, call comes in, set a sales appointment, sales rep goes out, sells the job, technician goes out, does the work. Okay, so that's how we do it. So we start talking about reviews when the sales rep goes out. Okay, so that basically step number two. But there is something to be said. You were talking about the customer experience, and there's kind of three components. Like during our conversation here, there's three big components that are going to help you get reviews. Now, the first one obviously is NiceJob. So the automation that keeps me from having to follow up, or anyone at my company from having to follow up. That's one of the components. Another component is the scripting that we do use, like how we ask. And then the third component, which really is probably the most important one, but it wouldn't work if we weren't asking. If we didn't have the other two components, it wouldn't work. But probably the most important is the customer experience throughout the customer life cycle there, and especially the first part of the customer life cycle, when we're going out to do work. There's a guy named Michael Kaplan. He's a mentor of mine. He's a business partner of mine. He grew a carpet cleaning company to almost $19 million a year. So he's doing 18 million plus a year cleaning carpets. And one thing he always says, and I'll be real brief on this, but he says that when you've performed a service for somebody, like if it's in my industry, for instance, we pressure wash for them. 2 weeks later, they're not going to remember what you did for them because they just come home now and things look normal. They don't remember what you did. They will remember how they felt dealing with your company. They'll remember how you made them feel. So he says your job or your goal is to make that customer feel like he always says, wrapped a warm, fuzzy blanket around them before you leave. They want to, sorry, there's some loud trucks around here. I don't know if you can hear me okay, but
it's all good. We got you.
You want to make them feel like you've wrapped a warm, fuzzy blanket around them and they're just loving it. And so the key isn't doing the best job cleaning the carpet or the best job cleaning the roof or the best job cleaning the windows or whatever, it may be. The key is, how do they feel? Because are they comfortable when you're in their home? Did they like the way you responded whenever they saw something that wasn't right and you went and fixed it? Did they like the way that, when you're working outside of the house, you made sure you weren't looking inside the windows? All these little things that you got to do. So the first thing we focus on is the customer experience. We have a script that doesn't talk about reviews with our admin when they answer the phone. Then, and there's little things built into that to remove any potential anxiety or frustration for them. Same can be said for our sales rep. Same can be said for our technicians. Now, do you want me to get into the part about asking for reviews and kind of how we do that? Okay.
Yeah, actually. So,
all right. So the admin answers the call. She works our little magic. I've got a little flow chart for them on how they do things to make sure that we're trying to lower that potential customer anxiety when they're dealing with a company and they don't know anything about what we do. They just know they need it done. The sales rep gets out there. He does his whole presentation. And again, we have a bunch of, if you ask one of my technicians, because you'll hear me say the little things, all the little things. If you ask one of my technicians, like if you saw one of my trucks down here doing some work and you pulled up and said, hey, what separates you from your competition? Their response would be, and they'll take their hand and they will do this and they will say, it's the little things. And because I drill that into them, we talk about it every week, in our meetings and stuff. So, so we make sure we're doing all the little things to make the customer go, okay, these guys are great. And then after we've made the sale, okay, so, all right, Mr. Jones, so you want us to do the roof and the house for you? Okay, that's great. So we're going to be out here next Thursday at 8 o'clock and we're going to get that done. It's probably going to take most of the day, blah, blah, blah. Okay, awesome. The tech's going to call you when he's on his way. He'll show up around this time, so on and so forth. And then Mr. Jones will be like, yep, that sounds good to me. Thanks, Bobby. And I'll be, okay, awesome. Well, listen, just a couple of thoughts and then I'm going to get out of your hair. So everyone, this is where you start taking notes, okay? A couple of thoughts, Mr. Jones, and I'm going to get out of your hair. First off, we're a family-owned company, and what I'm about to say to you is pretty cheesy, but it's just the honest to God truth. And when people like you hire us, you're helping us build our dreams. And I just want you to know that we really appreciate you giving us, an opportunity. You're helping us here. And then you pause and they always say, oh, that's great. Yeah, my dad had a business or my friend has a business and we like to support, the local guys. Great. Thank you so much. And Mr. Jones, the last thing is I just want you to know that every time we do work for somebody, we always have two goals every time we do it. Goal number one is to do such a great job cleaning, and I'll point at the house, such a great job cleaning that we earn a 5-star Google review from you. And then goal number two is just to make your experience so great from start to finish that you'll tell your friends and neighbors how great it was. So I just want you to know that we're going to work really, really hard to earn both of those from you, and I appreciate the opportunity to do so. That's the end of my script for that first step. And then what's great about that is at that point, the customers, they're already wowed because people don't do that. And you touched on this at the beginning. You talked about setting a high bar. Well, that customer knows that you just called your shot. You're Babe Ruth and you just said, I'm going to hit a home run. And if you don't, you look the fool. So the customer knows that you're calling your shot. It lets them know that you're very, very serious. And it just half the time, 50% of the time, you're going to get oh, wow, that's awesome. Oh, this is great. Something like that. And they really appreciate it. So that's the first real plant on leaving a review. So then the technician comes out next Thursday. So the tech, gets to their house. He goes up there, knocks on the door, does the typical, okay, Mr. Jones, so we're here to do the roof. We're here to do the house, blah, blah, blah. Is that right? And he'll go, yeah, that's right. Okay, well, I'm going to get busy. You're going to hear noises and you're going to smell smells and X, Y, and Z. This is probably going to take me about this long. When I'm done, I'm going to do a walkthrough with you before we pack up, and which is another little thing. Yeah, we can do a whole episode on the little things, but I'm going to do a walkthrough with you before we pack up. And then once you're satisfied, we'll pack up and get out of here. So the customer says, okay. And he goes, by the way, I just want you to know, I've got 2 goals today while I'm working for you. Goal number 1 is to do such a great job cleaning that I earn a 5-star Google review from you. And goal number 2 is to make your experience so great from start to finish that you'll tell your friends and neighbors how great it is. So I'm going to work really hard today to earn both of those. Now, for everyone listening, I've got this feedback from people that watch my YouTube channel or, just friends or whatever. Some people just rolled their eyes because they're like, oh, that's kind of cheesy. It's kind of cheesy already, just the script. And now you're saying it the exact same thing a second time. Guys, I'm telling you, there's science behind this thing. When the technician starts doing this script, the customer starts to grin because they're like, I've heard this already. When I was owner operator in the field, I used it when I made the sell. And then when I was the guy that came out to clean, I used it again. And when I would do it, they were like, you already told me this. But what we're doing is, again, we're calling our shot. We're also drilling it in their head. Review, 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 referral, referral, referral. Okay. So they're not going to forget. Now we get all the way to the end. The technician does the cleaning. He does the walkthrough. He packs up. He goes up. He collects payment from the customer. And then he says, all right, Mr. Jones, well, listen, I'm going to get out of here. Oh, by the way, is it okay if I shoot you a text message to leave me with a link to leave us a Google review? Now, everyone doesn't leave you a review, but everybody says, sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
So you send the text message. And then here's the last little part. I forget what it was you said, and it may have been even before we came live, but I forget what you said, but you said something that made me think of this portion of it. You were asking about people leaving more detailed reviews and things like that, which is very, very important. You don't want just a 5-star review. You want you'd like a few sentences at least in there. And we get a lot. We do get some that are just 5 stars, but we get a lot of them that people go in there and type. Here's what happens, how we get those. The technician will say, oh, by the way, Mr. Jones, listen, if you appreciate the work we did for you, if I did a good job, you can actually give me a tip without even giving me a tip. If you'll just mention my first name, or me and this other, Bobby and, Joe over here, if you just mention our first names in the review, we actually get a bonus because our names were mentioned in them. So you can actually tip us without even tipping us if you don't mind. And then the text will just write their names down so they'll remember their names.
Yeah.
So then they move on. So there's a few things that happen there. The first one is now the customer is not going to leave a review for some company. Even though we already established we're a family-owned company, we're a local company, we're small, but still in the customer's mind, you're a company. Now what happens is that customer wants to leave a review for those young men or young women that just work so hard all day out in the heat, cleaning their house, doing the work they didn't want to do, okay? So now they're more likely to leave the review. 2, they're going to put the names of the technicians in the review. Now think of that. Whenever you're searching for a company, for whatever product, if you start reading reviews and every one of those reviews names somebody that works at that company, what are you going to think? You're going to think, wow, this company really can, they're great people, like their customers love them. And then last, because they're going to mention their names, it kind of forces them to type some stuff. So they don't just say, John was great. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they'll say John was great. But most of the time it's going to be, oh my gosh, I had Ricardo and Johnny out to clean the roof and the sidewalk, and it's never looked so good. Those guys were the best. Sometimes they'll say something like, if you use these guys, make sure you ask for Johnny and Ricardo, something like that. So now the script, so that's the end of the script. Now we do send that text with NiceJob. So that's one of the components, the automation. So if they forget to leave the review right when they get the text, I don't have to worry about it. NiceJob sends those follow-up emails. It catches all that for me. But we've motivated, we planted in their head, we're going to do this for you. You're going to leave us a review if we make you happy. You planted in their head now that you're doing it for an individual, so they're more motivated to do it. If you mention my name in there, I get a bonus, even more motivation for it. And it's a healthier, fatter written review. So it's good stuff.
Yeah, there's so many, there's no other way to say it, but psychological levels to it. And what I'm getting at is there's other things within your business that you would pick up on that you've now put into the review cycle. And the one I like is that because you're saying that this script might be cheesy. One, I don't think it's cheesy if you then back that up. A great example that I've used, and I've said to other people at the time is, I went and got a custom suit made. And when I got the custom suit made, I wanted the experience where I wanted the person that was making my suit just a little bit shorter than me, so I had that little thing. I wanted the little glass of whiskey, even though it was 3 p.m. Like, you wanted to feel like a king. I was getting it for my wedding. I wanted that sort of feeling. And so it wasn't cheesy when it was like, oh, how you doing, sir? Or like, yes, Mr. Hill. Like, all that stuff wasn't cheesy. The other great part about it is that when you are mentioning, hey, we want to do such a great job that you leave a 5-star Google review, and you bring it up again, it's no different than if you were doing an estimate or you're talking to a client. They're like, yeah, like the last guy I had, he left dirt right here, and he didn't like. Sometimes customers will point out why they didn't like the last job or parts they didn't like, and of course you're going to focus on that. If some customer is saying that the one thing they hate when people are late, you'll be sure to emphasize to absolutely possibly not be late. Well, the same sort of thing is if you're saying like, oh, we definitely want to review, you're kind of instilling in the customer's mind like, this is important to us. It's important for us to do a great job, but it's important for us to have the review because that's when we get that satisfaction or something like that.
Absolutely.
So you're already
psychological.
You're planting it in there, and then additionally, you talk about the names and writing the reviews. That's especially, no one's just going to write, Jim and Bob were here. They're going to elaborate a little bit. They're going to want to seem a little eloquent, but it also sets up, maybe unintentionally, but I think there's a tiny bit of an us and them. And what I mean by that is that sometimes people think of the big corporations or big companies or just a company in general. They think of it as just this machine that rolls through and the individuals are making it. So if you get someone with a blue collar background, if you get someone that has that within their family, they are absolutely going to cling to the fact that they can help that particular technician out just by leaving a review.
And that's what they love. And especially like when you start getting more reviews, if you've got 400, 500 reviews and your guys come up in uniforms and your trucks look nice and they come out, people start looking at you more as that, corporation and not people. So this helps you keep it on that personal level.
Yeah, and it's great when you see a detailed review. I mean, obviously just the 5 stars help, the details count, but I think if someone's looked at your reviews and then you're preparing them like you have, kind of with the script in the beginning and the end, and you're doing that quality work, I'm sure the reviews they read, it starts to click like, yeah, that was a true review. Like, oh yeah, I get it. And now it's almost a little bit, they want to add on to that legacy of the great reviews that you're already getting.
People want to be, no, you're absolutely right. They want to be one of those reviews because they picked you because of the review. And when I go through and look at my reviews, because Google will show you how many reviews that person's left. Most of the people don't leave reviews. They've left 1 or 2 reviews in their whole life. And sometimes we're the one. So there's momentum. People like being a part of a thing, and you're creating a thing for them to be a part of. And it just, guys, it just works. Let me say, I'm talking to you and not the audience here in my mind. And so to talk to the audience just for a second, guys, I've got to tell you that there's a lot of things that we do in our business that generates a lot of revenue for us and a lot of success. The review thing is, at worst, one of the biggest things that we've done, okay? Because it generates revenue. A review is better than a referral because a review is a referral for the 100,000 people that are going to see those reviews over the next couple of years. The review is amazing because when your company has a crap ton of reviews, and in the hiring process, you talk about the reviews, and in the job posting, you talk about the reviews, guess what? Those people know I have to live up to that. So now they know they've got to live up to it. So what do they want to do? They want to be the guys getting the reviews. If someone leaves you a Google review, guess what? They're more likely to use you in the future because they're kind of committed. They gave something to this business. So you're probably going to be the person that they use in the future. And they're also going to be more likely to refer you to someone else, word of mouth, not just on the reviews. So the Google reviews, it's technically not free if you're using NiceJob because you're paying for a service to help you out with that. But it's the cheapest thing you can do. You can do it for free. It's the cheapest thing you can do to add massive value to your business.
Yeah, and then that the small monthly fee that you're paying for NiceJob, if you're rolling in reviews, it's going to pay for itself instantly. But then also, like as you and I have talked about, like it's not so much you're paying for the review, like you still have to earn the review. I tell people all the time, we say great companies getting them the reputation to use them, because if you are a terrible company with a terrible culture and a bad work ethic, we might actually just make it easier for people to leave bad reviews for you. Because like you're going to get it. And so like that's all I'm kind of pay for. But I never even thought about like the recruiting element or the hiring element, that if I'm looking and I you research a company before you go in the job interview and I'm seeing names and reviews, I think that would trigger to me that, one, I'm going to get credit for the work I do because these guys are, but two, it kind of builds a little camaraderie of, if I've seen, Becky's name in review to review, and then my first time out, I'm paired with Becky, I now know I'm with the star, or it kind of builds that little like training trust in the sense of, hey, this is someone that's, proofs in the pudding right there. And hey, if, as you said, if they're getting little tips, they're getting a little incentive, and I see what Becky's able to take home, and I'm able to follow that lead, get my own name in review, and get a little bit of that. That's got to be tremendous for hiring and recruiting.
It just compounds. It's not just one thing. Everything that you're saying, everything I've said, it compounds. And this is just something I'm real passionate about, because it's when you're on the other side where the grass is greener, the water's great, come on in, you want people to come over to your side. And it's why I preach this all the time, because I don't get anything. If you get a Google review, it doesn't do anything for me. If you sign up for NiceJob, it doesn't do anything for me, other than I got to help NiceJob, or I got to help you get a review. The reason I'm so passionate about it is I know the positive impact it's had on my life, and I like other people to have those kinds of impacts.
So was that kind of mentality what started the journey of a new entrepreneur? Like, well, what made you want to, document and share and kind of get into that realm? Because there's some people that get into business, they love the business element, and not they don't want to mentor, they don't want to share, but it's a lot of work to go consistently on YouTube, come up with new topics, and to book interviews. And I know just from doing our Thursday live chats of, sometimes the hurdles I had to jump through is to make sure, I can get someone for a certain week. What inspired you to start the journey of a new entrepreneur?
It's funny. So I'll go back to the start, but before I do, I would say today I have more motivation because I do get to help people, and I get a ton of feedback. It's not always every day, but oftentimes it is, where someone's like, hey man, you're making a difference in my life. And it's not that I did something, but like I share my journey. So it kind of gives other people the courage to pursue their own, and the tactics and the strategies as well, are in there. So today, more of my motivation and drive is because it's kind of cool being able to make a difference, but when I started it, I didn't even know what I was starting. I didn't think I was starting a channel. Here's literally what happened, and I'll make it short, but I found out I was losing my job around, 3:00 in the afternoon one day. I decided by 3:05, I'm like, I guess I'm going to start a window cleaning company, because I'd watched a video like 3 hours before I found out I was losing my job about how you can start a window cleaning company. It was just coincidental. And so I'm laying in bed that night, and I'm like, holy crap, what am I going to do? I drove to Lowe's the next day, or Home Depot, bought some stuff. And I'm driving around, for the next 2 or 3 days, week or so. And I'm trying to get off the ground, and I'm scared and I'm nervous. And we had just moved to Orlando. We didn't have any friends here. My wife is amazing. Like, my wife's just the best person on the planet. And she's there for me, like I could come home at the end of the day if I wanted and just dump all my stress and anxiety on her, and she would be there for me. But I didn't want to do that. And I didn't want her. She was already scared because I'd lost my job. And I'm like, but I'm an extrovert. I have to get stuff out. So I'm like, what am I going to do without going insane here? So my first thought was, well, I'll start journaling. I'll start writing my feelings down. And then I thought, who am I kidding? That'll last one day. I'm not going to journal. So then I thought, well, I'll do a video diary on my phone, and then I'll go back and watch the videos, down the road, and that'll be fun. And then I was like, well, I've only got so much storage on my phone. So I literally just thought, well, I'll just make a YouTube channel so I can upload them to YouTube. And And then some people started watching it. So it just kind of happened. So I didn't even know, originally it was therapy. At the beginning it was therapy. Now I do, and it's still therapy today, but I do like helping people out.
Yeah. Is there any pressure now as your audience grows?
A little bit. Now, I mean, my audience is cool. The pressure is like being in a very, very emotional dude. I'm either really, really high or I get down in the dumps, And so when I'm not like, flying high on emotions, it's hard to want to put out content because it's not my job. I don't get paid for it, I'll feel guilty that I'm not putting the content out there, and people will comment and be like, "Hey dude, it's been a while," or something like that. So if you wanted to if somebody wanted to really dig in, you could probably go to my YouTube channel and look at the dates of the videos that would come up. And when you see gaps, you'd be like, "Oh, that's when Bob was feeling sorry for himself,"
Yeah. That's and I would invite everyone to go to subscribe to Bobby's YouTube channel. One, not to date our little talk here, but once you pass 8K subscribers, you're doing some giveaways.
Yeah.
It was every 2 days, every 250 subscribers, was it?
Yeah. So basically it's every 250 subscribers or 2 days, whichever's longer, because like I said, that's not my job. So I need some time to process it. But what I did was I was approaching 8,000 subs, and I just had a simple idea. I was like, you know what? I wanted to do a little giveaway. I thought I'm going to throw in like $400 of my own money. I'm going to buy a little pump setup thing, and I'm just going to give it away. And just as a thank you, and just like, hey, I'll give it back. And then I made a call to Kurt over at Responsive Bid, and I'm like, hey man, would you be interested in doing a giveaway? He's like, sure, I'll give you a year free of NiceJob or of Responsive Bid. And
hey,
like,
Kurt's not allowed to do that. I keep telling him that he's not allowed to give away free NiceJob.
Yeah. And then actually you guys were next. I'm like, oh my God. So I thought, well, hey, basically I've got 3 softwares that I use like that are hugely impactful. And it's Responsive Bid, it's NiceJob, and it's SendGym. So I just reached out to all 3 of you guys. I'm like, hey, would you guys be up for doing a thing? So I reached out to you guys, and you were like, absolutely, let's do this, which I thought was super cool. So, and then we're also giving away a soft wash skid and some bookkeeping services and some. I have a course. I gave away a couple of courses, so it's pretty cool. So we're about to wrap up the. By the time people listen to this, this will probably already be done. But the bookkeeping services are going to be given away here in the next 24, 48 hours. And then you guys are actually up next. So I'm excited about that. Yeah.
Nice. We are excited as well. Well, yeah, if you haven't seen Bobby on YouTube, I invite you to go check it out. I will warn, and Bobby, I say this with all love in the world, is I do love every so often.
I already know what you're going to say, and I understand. I cuss a lot.
No. I mean, yes. What I love is, I mean this with love, is I'll look at a title of a video, and it'll say quick chat Q&A, and then I'll look at the time, and it's 48 minutes. Bobby, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. I wouldn't mind listening to you talk for 40 minutes straight, because I know you're always passionate about what you're saying. I know that you're always, you're always going to be real. So when you talk about the cussing like that, like you're real. And it's funny enough, if anyone thinks that the script that you have is cheesy, I don't think they're really seeing the true realness. So I hope that you are taking notes. We usually say that about a lot of our live chats, but that is such a great way, as I mentioned off the top. You're seasoning what you may already have. You're a NiceJob user. You already have that automation there. This is preparing the customer to, have great expectations, which I think will, make your business better. But then also it'll prepare them so when they get that text or the follow-up email to be ready to leave a 5-star review with some details and really get you going. So Bobby, I'll apologize for look at the computer screen instead of the view behind you this whole time. But thank you so much for the information today.
Hey, I just want to throw one little thing out there. I started to say this, and because my quick chats go to 45 minutes, I get sidetracked. What I was going to say to the audience is this: guys, execution is the name of the game. And if you will take the 10 minutes to kind of rewind, find where we went through the script, write it down, practice it about 10 times in your car while you're driving to dinner or whatever tomorrow night. If you'll implement it tomorrow, I promise you, guarantee you, you will see results. You'll start getting a lot more reviews, and you're silly and you're hurting yourself if you don't do it. So my challenge is execute on this, take it, make it happen, make yourself money, build a legacy.
I love that. In fact, we're talking here with NiceJob, my department, the community department here, about doing some more strategic sessions like we did with the Home Service Super Summit.
Yeah.
And if we get that rolling, Bobby, I'd love to have you come in and help people develop scripts and things like that, because not only is it effective, but I think it's kind of good is because you kind of set yourself up. We always talk about you raising expectations. When you go to write your script, you'll find out what's important to you, whether you're a family-owned business, whether it's with partners or buddies or anything like that. It really kind of puts that first foot forward. Well, Bobby, thank you so much yet again. And thank all of you for tuning in for another Thursday live chat. I hope that you had some fun and got some great information. And as always, wherever you are, stay safe, stay healthy, and have a little fun out there. We'll talk soon, everybody.